Shana Tova to all that are here and are far. Amazing. Here we are here after a year without being face to face. Last year, Cantor and I were together in an empty room, a completely empty room with just a camera, looking out and imagining people who were home on their television sets and watching. And we look forward this year to seeing more and more faces inside the room. Last year we had cutouts, so we could see some faces, but they weren't real people. This is my 14th year, my 14th High Holidays together with the TCS family, and I feel blessed to be here with you once again, and to be with my partner in crime, Cantor Luis Catan, who is beginning his now 8th year at the Conservative Synagogue at TCS here. And we are, as I said, truly blessed to be together with you and beginning this new year together. After the year and a half that we have had, I think that it is appropriate for us to begin these holidays with a special Shechianu, because we want to thank God for giving us life, for enabling us to be here, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to celebrate a Rosh Hashanah together in person. And for those of you that are watching through stream, you can certainly say Shechianu with us as well. And so together let us say, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Let's open up our Machzorim to page number 3, and we can begin with an English reading. Now is the time for turning. To everything there is a season, and there is an appointed time for every purpose under heaven. The seasons change, as does the balance of day and night. The animals are beginning to turn to storing their food for the winter.
For the air for birds and animals, turning comes naturally, but for us, turning does not come so easily.
It takes an act of will for us to make a turn.
It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we have been wrong, and this is never easy.
It means losing face. It means starting all over again, and this is always painful.
It means saying, I'm sorry. It means admitting that we have the ability to change, and this is always embarrassing.
These things are terribly hard to do, but unless we turn, we'll be trapped forever in yesterday's ways.
Dear God, help us to turn.
From callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love.
From pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment.
From carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith.
Turn us around, O God, and bring us back toward you. Revive our lives as at the beginning.
And turn us toward each other, God, for in isolation there is no life. We rise now, our call to worship, Baruch Hu, page number 5.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
ומביא יום, ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה, אדוני, המרים
turn now to page 6 and prepare for Kriyat Shema. Prayer is the voice we hear when we listen to what the universe is saying to us. This is what Martin Buber calls God singing within us. God sings within us when we cease to think of ourselves and listen to what the universe is saying to us. Sometimes we pray when we are looking for an answer. The prayer is our question. In order to hear the answer, we must stop praying and listen to that voice within. The technique of listening also involves opening ourselves up to the prayers of other people. That is why our most important prayer, one which is not a prayer at all, begins with the word Shema. Listen. Take these words to heart. We think that we are here to recite words of prayer, but really we come together to listen to ourselves, to the voice of others, and to the transcendent voice of God. And so as we begin our evening service on this Erev Rosh Hashanah, let us learn to listen to the still small voice of the Holy One, and let us be transformed by the voice of God. Let us sing, and let us hear God's song. Page 6.
כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה ועבדך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך ביד.
Continuing on page 7.
וחרף אדוני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת ואמונה כל זאת וקיים עלינו כי אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו ואנחנו ישראל עמו.
Continuing now, page number 8.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל, לך נושירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו עולם, מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלאכותיך רבניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל. השכיבנו.
Join responsively now, page 9. Allow us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully and to waken us again to life, our sovereign.
Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name.
Shield us, remove from us enemies and pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow, and remove the evil forces that surround us. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever. To Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו, כי אל שומרנו ומצילנו אתה. כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה, ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום. מעתה ועד עולם, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Please rise as we turn to page 10.
תיקו בחודש שופר, בכסל ליום חגנו, כי חוק לישראל ומשפט לאלוהי יעקב. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעלמא דברי חירותיה, וימליך מלכותיה, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן הקריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמיה מבורך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו להלה להלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמינה מעלמה ואמרו אמן.
We all come to God with our own unique and heartfelt prayers. And how often do we stop to hear God pray to us? Someone once cried to God, Adonai, the world is such a mess. Everything seems wrong. Why don't you send someone to help and change the world? And the voice of God replied, I did send someone. I sent you. When we come to synagogue, when we come together on these holidays, we pray for life. We ask God for a year of health and happiness, but cannot merely ask God for these blessings. We must also answer our own prayers by saying to the Almighty and to ourselves, Hineni, here I am, send me. The first of our many Amidot over these Yamim Naraim, these upcoming high holidays, as we begin now, page number 11, continuing privately through page 17. Moments of private prayer, reflection, meditation.
עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו. הוא יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן.
Page 19, Kaddish Shalom.
יתקבל קדש שם מרבה, ועל מה דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכון וביומכון ובכתר בישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
ישמר רבה וברך, לעולם עולם ועלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה השם וקודשה בריחו. להלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה מרים בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
תתקבל צלותון אבותון לכל ישראל, קודם אבון ובשמיא, ואמרו אמן. יש להם רבה משמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן.
Please be seated. The humorist Ring Lardner said there are two kinds of people. Those who divide people into two kinds, and those who don't. This evening, I'm going to act like the first kind. I'm going to divide people into two types: lumpers and splitters. Lumpers are people who combine everything together. If you mix everything together on your plate, you're a lumper. Splitters are people who make distinctions, and they keep things separate. Now, none of us, of course, are always one way or the other. But for example, if someone says to you the Judeo-Christian tradition, and you say, no, they're very different. Judaism is this, and Christianity is that, you're a splitter. If someone says to you, the West, and you say, what do you mean, the West? America is different from Canada, which is different from Sweden, which is different from France. You're a splitter. If someone says to you, the high holidays, and you say, they're actually really quite different. Rosh Hashanah is one thing, and Yom Kippur is something else. Then you're a splitter. And this evening, I'm going to be a splitter. And the reason why I am is because Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur really are very different. But we tend to think of them as one and the same, because that's generally when people are in synagogue or watching on live stream. We may think of the holidays as the same because some of the prayers repeat, sure, although many of them are distinct. And because we often talk about the Yamim Noraim, the high holidays, we usually don't make a distinction between the two. Now, some rabbis are known to split their sermons between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, thematically, Rosh Hashanah is about larger issues, like the state of the Jewish world. And Yom Kippur is much more personal. Yom Kippur is about what goes on inside of us, in our families, in our hearts, in our deepest thoughts, in our lives. And I realize, especially during these times, that there's almost a conflict between the two, because Rosh Hashanah and public issues are what tend to divide us. Now, that may be inevitable in some ways, because the truth is, there are people who say, why are the Jewish people so divided? And anyone who says that are people who never studied Jewish history. Because if you study Jewish history, you'll find that there has never been a time when the Jewish people were not divided. So this is not a new thing. We didn't invent it. It's always been this way. One of my colleagues said he was recently approached by a Christian Lutheran who said to him, Rabbi, we're always having fights with other groups of Christian Lutherans, and I just don't get it. How do the Jews manage to stay together all the time? Little did he know. So it's a human feature in many ways that people tend to divide. And on Rosh Hashanah, we often talk about some of the things that divide us. And on Yom Kippur, it's about our hearts. It's about being open even to people that we disagree with. If we remember the beginning of Kol Nidre, what do we say? We have permission to pray together with the Avaryanim, with the sinners, with those who have transgressed, with the people who have done things that we deeply object to or that we have problems with. And so Yom Kippur, in a way, is the harder of the two holidays. Because how do we open up our hearts to people who hold opinions that we think are antithetical to who we are or what we believe? But we actually have a good model for it. It's a very good model. It comes from the prophet Isaiah, in fact. In these words of Isaiah we read in the Haftarah just a few weeks ago. And the model was actually turned into a song, and some of you, I imagine, may recognize the song or the lyrics. It goes like this. In time the Rockies may crumble, Gibraltar may tumble. They're only made of clay. But our love is here to stay. It's a Gershwin song. George and Ira Gershwin, one of the great songwriting duos in American history, and of course Jewish. But if we look at the words from Isaiah in the Haftarah, they go like this. For the mountains may move and the hills be shaken, but my loyalty will never move from you. Sounds pretty similar, doesn't it? Ira Gershwin had to have gotten it from Isaiah. He knew his Bible. Now we realize the Israelites did things that made God very upset and very angry. And there was a temptation that God expresses even to Moses that he wants to be done with these people. But our love is here to stay. And part of our work on these high holidays, and of course each and every person is different, but part of our challenge is to figure out how do we open up our hearts, not to the people who we agree with on Rosh Hashanah, that is those who see the world as we see the world, but how do we open up our hearts to the people who don't? How do we learn to understand and accept that the people who we disagree with have their own struggles and their own pain and their own anguish, that they might change their minds and we might change ours. But nonetheless, there is still an obligation to open up our heart. The Torah teaches that if someone loses something, we have to help them find it. But the phrase that is used is often translated as, you shall not be indifferent. But the Hebrew actually says, lo tuchal lehit'alem. In this root of this verb, lehit'alem, alem means to hide yourself. We all hide ourselves from people and things that we don't want to see. I wonder if I'm alone, that when I get off 95 at exit 17, which I don't do that often, but every so often I do. And there was someone standing there with a sign asking for money. What do I usually do? I usually look straight ahead. Almost like a child. Like somehow I feel like you can't see me if I don't look at you. Because we have a natural tendency to hide ourselves from other people's pain and other people's need. And the Torah is telling us, don't turn away. Don't turn away from people in your life and in your family. Don't turn away from people in your community, in the Jewish community, in the larger community. Don't turn away from people in our country and in our world. Obviously, we can't save everyone, but we can work on ourselves so that we don't dismiss them in our own minds. Striving to open our hearts, that's really the work of Yom Kippur. Not to change others, but to change ourselves. Let's try to refrain from the tendency of splitting. And this time I mean splitting ourselves from other people. Let us remember God's words to the Jewish people, rephrased but still the same words. The Rockies may crumble, Gibraltar may tumble, they're only made of clay. But our love is here to stay. So on these high holidays, these Yamim Noraim, we will still talk about things on Rosh Hashanah that we need to talk about, with the understanding that it doesn't mean that we won't fight fights in this world, because we will. And sometimes we have to. But we can also open our hearts and understand that in the end, we cannot change the world, but we can start by changing our own heart. Shana Tova Umetuka, a good and sweet year to all of you. We rise now as we turn to page 25, Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמה חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שנות השמיים ויוסד הארץ.
שנות השמיים ויוסד הארץ.
Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom mahu yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad.
May be seated. This month we continue to recall with loving memory Lou Berlin, Mike Zegers, Mark Fentner. And this coming week we lovingly recall the names and the yard signs of Alfred Jacobs, Hazel Kaufman, George Rappaport, Phyllis Steinbrecher, Mark Epton, Stephen Lessler, Mildred Mimi Weckstein, Charlotte Greenman, Rose Luros, Arthur Altschul, Louis Bitsky, William Markowitz, Cecily Gerla, Martha Schaefer, Samuel Arkush, William Glassberg, Elizabeth Schott, Stephen Tendler. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links our generations one to another, we invite those who are mourning, those observing a yard side, anyone who wishes to rise and join together with us on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bialma divrach irutei v'yamalich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agalal v'zman kariv v'imaru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam l'halmei l'maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'alal shemei t'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela, le'ela, mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imaru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen. Join together now Psalm 27 on page 27.
Adonai yori v'eshi mimira. Adonai yori v'eshi mimira. Adonai ma'oz chayai mimi evchad. Adonai ori. את פניך אדוני אבקש, אל תסתר פניך ממני, אל תטבע בכבוד ואל זלזלת. אל תתשני ואל תעזבני לא אישי, כי אבי ואמי יעזבוני ואדוני יאספני. הורני אדוני דרכך ונחני באורך מישור למען שוררי. אל תתנני בנשף צרי, כי קמו בי ידי שקר ויפח חמאס. לולא האמנתי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים. קבל אדוני חזק ויאמץ ליבך, וקבל אדוני.
We'll go back now to the Mourner's Kaddish, once again, page 26. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divrach yirutei v'yamalich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalal v'zman kariv v'imaru. Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam l'halmei l'maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'alal shemei t'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran bi'alma v'imaru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru.
Amen.
Amen. Shana Tova once again, Yasher Koach to our cantor for getting us started this evening with this beautiful Rosh Hashanah together. I'm so thrilled to see you here tonight. And many of you are our sort of regular Erev Rosh Hashanah group that we see each and every year that we missed last year, and so it's great to have you. I also want to welcome my parents who are here this Rosh Hashanah. I'm thrilled to have them, Larry and Francine Wiederhorn. I'm celebrating together with them over this holiday. From a thank you perspective, we of course thank Cantor Catan for all of his work leading up to the holidays and what we're about to experience. Again, a true partner, and I'm certainly blessed to be with you again this year.
It's very mutual.
Thank you. I want to also just begin by also recognizing and thanking, while they can't necessarily hear us, I want to thank our friends here at Christ and Holy Trinity Church for opening up their doors, for welcoming us so graciously throughout the holidays, and my good friend, Reverend John Bennett in particular, and all of his staff for how hard they worked in making these holidays happen. And of course, our staff, led by Julia Brennan, Joanne Folger, Lynn Picorni, Laura Steinbrecher, Sarah Glick, Halit Rosenberg, Nelson Blanco, Luis Sarmiento, Diego Isazo, literally working around the clock tirelessly. It's not so easy in any year to have to put the high holidays together. It's more complicated in a COVID year, and it's even more complicated when you're not in your own space. And so for all of those reasons, we thank them. We want to thank our educational staff, Seth Golub and Lauren Pankos, who run our schools, our Kehila and preschool, respectively, for keeping our students and families engaged throughout, and we look forward to those programs in the days to come. We are going to have, God willing, Shabbat at the beach this Friday night, in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, so it's an additional, it's a new addition.
We do?
Yeah, it's a new addition, brand new. So it's available, and 6:15 this Friday night. We hope that you can join us there, and we look forward to...
Perfect. For Shabbat Shuvah, we go back to the beach.
Exactly. We're going to return
to the
again.
beach.
Return again back to Campo, and then we're going to return again on Sunday, the 12th, for Tashlich, which will be at 5:30 p.m. Sunday evening. We also, of course, have services tomorrow morning. Hopefully, you know when you're scheduled to be here. If you are, our services, whether you're here personally or streaming, begin at 8:30 a.m. for our full adult service with Torah reading. Actually, we should say that, I say full, but really our services are abbreviated this year. And they have to be, just by necessity, in order for us to get all of the different services in. But our service in the morning will have the full Torah reading at 8:30 in the morning. And then we have a briefer service that will begin at 11:30 a.m. that will not include the Torah reading. We will have teen discussions to take place during both of those sessions. And then following those, of course, we have family services tomorrow, beginning at 1:30 aimed for children 12 and under, and then at 3 o'clock for those families 3 and under. So if you want to hang out with the Cantor and me, we're gonna
be here.
We're gonna be here all day long. So just come in and be here with us. On Wednesday, we have services again at 8:30 in the morning. And then our family service will start at 11:30 a.m. All right, I think that's enough
and
for today.
If you are online, it's
Yes.
just a click away from whatever time you want to,
That's right.
to join.
We
And if you click and there is no image, it's because the streaming has been interrupted for the time being. It's between services, so stick around because it's coming back.
It will be back. And we want to thank Hanel and his staff for enabling us to be streamed, and again, that you'll be hooked up to our YouTube channel through TCS, and you'll be able to see us during any of the services that we mentioned. All right. We'll conclude with Yigdal, page number 28.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא בנט אל מציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד, כייחודו נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו, אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא נערוך אליו קדושתו, קדמון לכל דבר, אשר נברא ראשון בין ראשית לראשיתו, הינו אדון עולם וכל נוצר, יורה גדולתו ומלכותו, שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו, בתפארתו לא קם בישראל כמשה עוד נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל על יד נביאו, נאמן ביתו לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו לעולמים, לזולתו צופה ויודע, סתרנו מביט לסוף דבר, בקדמתו גומל לאיש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לרשע רע כרישתו, ישלח לקץ ימים, משיחנו לפדות מחכי קץ, ישועתו מתים יחייהם ברוב חסדו, ברוך הדיין, שם תהילתו מתים יחייל, ברוב חסדו, ברוך הדיין, שם תהילתו.
We wish everyone Lashana Tova Tikatevu Vatechatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year.
Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, Lashana
Tova. Please help us by returning your machzorim where you found them. Thank you.